What's up? Welcome in, Hoge and Jahns, back with you for another year of a coaching search. You guys ready for this? You pumped up? Got your sleep? Kevin's here too. Hey, Kevin.
Hi, Kev.
Hey, guys. Is this the Hoge and Jahns podcast's third coaching search? You guys started right after Fox was hired?
Yes. So we were not up and running for that coaching search. We started right after that year, his first season. So, so we would have gone through the Nagy hiring, the Eberflus hiring, and now this one.
Here's my question to start things off. If a year is a lifetime, what is 9 years of the Hoge and Jahns podcast?
Too long.
Too long. Well, it's been fun. It's flown by. We've seen so much, covered so much, gotten to know so many people, so many coaches, so many offensive coordinators, so many quarterbacks. It's been a blast, Kev.
Yeah. There's a lot of people we know because of it. Yeah. Because of all the people.
That's a great way to put it. Yeah.
We've
met a lot of people along the way.
Do you think that when I'll just throw Coleman Shelton, do you think when Coleman Shelton signed his 1-year contract that Kevin Warren said, this is actually a lifetime contract? Like if Coleman Shelton tries to come back in the building next year, like who tells him that it's just 1 year, but he could say, you said 1 year is a lifetime.
Yeah, it's a lifetime. Well, bear for life, right? Bear for life. It's technically been 10 full seasons now of football. And then August will be the actual 10-year anniversary, like calendar year thing.
So officially, Hoge Jahns is going to be on its 4th head coach.
Correct. And 10th lifetime.
Second general manager, second team president, and a whole bunch of other changes along the way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Think about how many starting right guards have been through the lifetime of a Hoge Jahns.
Has there been more starting right guards or more running backs coaches?
I knew he was going to say that joke.
Yeah. It's probably running backs coaches. But all right. Well, let's dive in. We are obviously all at the press conferences yesterday at Hallis Hall. Make sure you're checking everything out that's been written, of course, on The Athletic, theathletic.com/HogeandJahns. We got to discuss some of that. I also have a breakdown of Mike Vrabel up this morning on all CHGO if you want to check that out. And my guy, Pat Norton, also had a pretty good summary of everything that happened yesterday, too. So plenty to read and check out if you are so obliged. And check out HogeandJahns.com for all the merch as well. Jahns, I know you wanted to start with a question about whether or not this Bears head coaching job, is more or less attractive today than it was before everybody talked yesterday.
So we are now almost 24 hours removed from the press conferences. We talked to Kevin Warren, talked to George McCaskey. It all started with Ryan Poles in a different room, in a different setting. But it all happened within the same hour at Hallis Hall. So, yeah, that was my question for you guys. I obviously have my thoughts, but I'd like to hear from you guys first. Now that we've kind of backed away from this, I have a lot of thoughts running through our own minds because we've covered a lot of these. Do you feel like candidates will view this job more favorably or now less favorably as their agents and them discuss everything that happened and transpired at Hallis Hall on Tuesday?
Kev, you want to start?
Yeah, I don't think we're making too much of what we heard yesterday, but I don't know how much it impacts coaches because these guys have access to every press conference and every and they're going to be in the room with these guys. So, and also I don't know, most NFL owners are kind of weird. Billionaires are just, I don't know, I don't know, how many coaches hear an owner talk and be like, that's my guy right there, we're in sync. It's even the same with team presidents. These just I think I will go on the, I guess, optimistic side of things. I don't think it really will impact the perception or the private perception too much, even if the public perception looks the way it does.
Well, let me rephrase it then. Do you think the Bears have the most desirable opening after Tuesday?
Okay, let me answer both of those questions. One is, let's be clear. The Bears were in absolutely no situation where they could have won the press conference yesterday. So we need to set that reality out there. They have gone, this has been way too much of a disaster for them to have come out and everybody left yesterday being like, oh, everything's back in order. Things are going to be fine. It's just, that was not a reasonable expectation. So maybe I'm lowering the bar too much compared to other disastrous press conferences that we've covered. I didn't think yesterday was that bad, to be honest with you. I thought there were a couple puzzling quotes that we'll talk about. One of them we've already brought up here about how 1 year is a lifetime. It is certainly not. But I mean, did anyone expect George McCaskey to all of a sudden have some better answer to my question I ask him every 3 years about, his job performance? No, there's nothing he can really say that's going to make. I mean, I'm not saying it sounds good. I'm just saying it's. I don't know what people expected to come out of yesterday. So in my opinion, I don't really think yesterday changed anything whatsoever. Getting back to this, you rephrasing the question, Jahns. I don't know that there is an obvious best job. I think it is open to interpretation and specifically might go back to how these coaches view last year's quarterback class. Because I think, to me, the two jobs right now that are rising to the top are the Bears and the Patriots. And so we're kind of where we were 12 months ago. Drake May or Caleb Williams. And so our guy Nate Tice would go take the Patriots job right now because he's a Drake May guy. Others might, still look at what Caleb did and look at all the turmoil and this season and be like, no, we can make that work. He's still extremely talented. So I just think it's kind of a complicated answer, but I do think the Bears are among the best jobs. I think they have a lot of questions that they're going to have to answer about ownership, about stability, all those things in these interviews. And here's the thing, they are going to have to do a better job of answering those questions than they probably did yesterday when talking to the media.
I thought the Bears, if anything, it was an opportunity to really embolden their young general manager. I understand why they're keeping him. Yes, you can make the argument for firing Ryan Poles. I get it. 15-36 in 3 years. Hiring Matt Eberflus, retaining Matt Eberflus, and then hiring Shane Waldron. Not good. Not good things to have on your resume. But I understand the idea of retaining a general manager to maintain some organizational stability, some continuity. He has done some good things. The number one thing being, and I know we're going to get to this a lot later, the quarterback. I thought I felt like those three in charge, Ryan Poles, Kevin Warren, and George McCaskey, probably could have done a better job of talking up their situation, talking up their quarterback. And I get that some of yesterday has to be taking accountability, taking some questions that are tough, some awkward answers that have to be delivered. But they could have done a better job in encouraging their young GM, emboldening their young GM. Instead, we got a lot of stuff we've heard before. The word collaborative was used. We've heard that word before. And collaboration. You get my point from 2022. We've been here in so many instances. The idea that they've actually learned from their mistakes, the Bears haven't earned the benefit of the doubt on that. I understand the optimism that some fans want to have because the hiring process is starting to resemble maybe a real business, but the Bears' business is football. I put this on Twitter, and they're bad at the football. Let's get the football right first. And it starts with hiring the right head coach. Do I think it's more desirable than the Patriots? I don't know if it is for Mike Vrabel. Obviously, he has his connections there, but he also has the structure he might want there as well, where he's reporting directly to ownership. But that's not going to happen here if you're competing for Mike Vrabel.
I think Jahns, you kind of hit on something about the right head coach, because I'll use the Chiefs as an example. Like I wasn't really covering I don't remember what the perception of the Hunt family was in like the early aughts or like everything before they hired Andy Reid. Right? Like, but the Chiefs were not necessarily this like juggernaut, right? And they're a family-owned team, been around for a long time. They hire Andy Reid. Andy Reid gets Patrick Mahomes, and voila, everybody loves the Chiefs. So, and I feel like the Chiefs didn't necessarily do well in that NFLPA poll last year. So there are some like things that maybe aren't as perfect, but their performance in the field is what matters. And Jahns, I was going to ask you, because you did the kind of inside story. This is 7 years ago now, of the process to find Matt Nagy. And if I recall, there was one person really in charge, and it was Ryan Pace. And George and Ted accompanied him.
Correct.
And helped support him. And I'm sure asked some questions. But that was it, right?
Well, some of that's a bit misleading, because similar to like Ryan Poles is using, Ryan Pace relied on his football guys. Ryan Poles should absolutely lean into Ian Cunningham, Jeff King, Matt Feinstein, who used to work for the NFL. He should absolutely lean on those guys for information, on their contacts, on their experience, what they feel this team needs, their questions and interviews, their feedback. He should absolutely lean into those guys. Now, Ryan Pace did the same thing with Josh Lucas and others on his staff, his football guys, and then he had to bounce things off George McCaskey and Ted Phillips. Obviously, Ted Phillips is the one who negotiated Matt Nagy's contract with Trace Armstrong at the very end. Maybe I'm just struck by how that operated. Let's not forget that even before that began, the Bears announced a contract extension for Ryan Pace. So he felt encouraged. He felt emboldened to take over and really build his vision for the team. Like his record with 3 years at Fox was just as bad as it is with Ryan Poles. Like, that's why I'm not surprised Ryan Poles is getting this opportunity to go lead his own search. It just doesn't feel like his own search. Does it?
Well,
No.
Yes,
I will say it feels more like his search today than it felt like it was going to be on that press conference after Thanksgiving.
Yeah, but how much of that? See, Kevin, how much of that? And it may be, but how much of that was just a PR correction?
Right, exactly. There could be just some window dressing.
Yeah,
we're looking at. So it could go both ways.
I mean, I thought Larry Mayer was a snub that he's not included in the 78 people that are going to be in these interviews. I mean, I just don't understand that. The guy's been there forever. He should be part of the interview process. No, it's like I don't know what to make of all that. I'm trying to picture these Zoom calls where there's so many people on them. It seems a little overwhelming. Like, if you're Mike Vrabel, do you need to meet the COO of the stadium?
I will say if Larry's title was executive vice president, senior writer, he'd be on those calls.
Senior vice president writer.
I'll say that's kind of on Larry for not getting a title change.
I mean, the fact he's not a executive vice president or senior vice president after all this time.
So the Bears have Larry. But in all seriousness, like, the Bears have 5 senior VPs, 5 executive vice presidents, some of whom have been here for less than a year. Less than a calendar year.
Well, that's a good point too, Jahns, in terms of like this is Kevin Warren's setup.
Thank you.
Like, Kevin, this is what Kevin Warren. This is actually, for those wondering what Kevin Warren has done since he got here. Like, this is it. Like, he has set up this business side and these positions, and now he's pushing them into the interview room. So that gets back to, was yesterday's show, for lack of a better word, that this is the Ryan Poles show, really real versus, what's actually, when you enter that Zoom room, or Mike Vrabel's case, he can actually come to the building. I don't know, man. If you're Mike Vrabel, don't you just want to sit down with Kevin Warren and Ryan Poles and probably George McCaskey, and
that's it?
Like, all right, let's cut to the chase. What's going on here? Like, what do you got? What can you offer me? Here's my vision. Here's my plan. And then after all that, if he's in the building and things are going well, then you want to introduce him to the person who's in charge of this, the stadium and HR at that point. Like, I don't know. It just,
I think the best organizations do have a good synergy between football and business, right? But that doesn't mean
business is football.
Right, exactly. And that doesn't mean that the business people need to be involved in picking the person who's running your football team. And it may and if the Bears are going to say you guys are making too big of a deal about this, don't tell us that you're going to involve the senior vice presidents, the executive vice presidents in the search if you don't want us to make a big deal about it. And so it could be as simple as like after when they do in-person interviews, maybe they're walking through the House hall, maybe it's just a quick 2-minute intro with, pick your executive vice president, and they just talk for a second, maybe they ask a question or two and they move on. It could be that simple. But we are left to interpretation because that's what they laid out as part of the process.
But it didn't sound that way.
No, it didn't.
Even the way Kevin Warren put it is, we know we have to basically make ourselves more appealing, right? We're being interviewed too. I mean, this just goes back to all the smoke out there about Ben Johnson, about having some collaboration with ownership and all this stuff. I don't know. It just felt like the Bears missed the message on a lot of things.
Well, or I mean, this is why Kevin Warren is along those lines, is look at what we've changed here. These are the people in charge. You look at this committee, the search committee. Do I have this right? Let me double check my work here. But the only person left from the search committee that found Ryan Poles and Matt Eberflus is George McCaskey.
Correct.
Because Tanisha Wade was on that, but she's not on this one.
She's not. It's the interview panel. Those are the words.
Yeah.
So the
she was a vice president, so she could be involved.
She could be in.
Yes.
Well, and that was also what was still a little bit. Did you guys get the feeling they didn't name everybody?
Well, I even asked for names, and names weren't. I expand. What did I ask? Because
there's plenty more.
You expand on who's involved, and again, there's 10 senior vice presidents and executive vice presidents, if you combine them. So five in each. Yeah. I forget. I had another thought here. So you keep talking. It'll come back to me in a second there.
I mean, Pat McCaskey's a vice president. I guess the point is how deep does this go?
Here's my point. Do you know? And I wrote about this. If we're going after Ben Johnson, I think we can all agree that the top two candidates in this year's cycle, as we're talking today, 9:45 a.m. here in Chicago, it's Mike Vrabel and Ben Johnson, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Chris Spielman was hired by the Lions, and we've hit on this before, Adam, just talking about synergy ownership. Chris Spielman, the Pro Bowl linebacker turned Fox broadcaster, long-time Lion, was hired as an advisor to the Lions. He was the conduit between ownership and football, essentially. Ben Johnson knows this. Ben Johnson has a relationship with Chris Spielman. Chris Spielman this season was presenting trick play ideas to Ben Johnson. This is all in press conferences. This is all on record. Where's I get adding.
Where's the football guy?
Where's the football people? So I hope Ryan Poles really leans into Jeff King, really leans into Ian Cunningham for this, because there are reasons why they receive GM interviews over the past couple of years. Well-respected football guys in your football operation. George McCaskey is right in saying it could be GMs elsewhere. You're not wrong about that. Well-respected by a lot of football minds across the league. Lean into them as much as you can, Ryan Poles. Those are the things I wanted to hear more of.
That's a great point, Jahns, because again, I'm gonna bring this back to Vrabel because maybe he's the most like football-y guy. But these guys they're all coaches. Coaches want to talk football. They might want to hear your business plan or your state. I mean, I would probably want to hear the stadium plan. I'd probably want, what's going on with stadium? And unfortunately, Kevin Warren's probably just gonna be able to give the same answer he's giving us, which is, it's gonna be great.
I'll give you a better answer in the spring.
Yeah.
Or
but
summer.
they want to talk football. So you're giving me a Zoom call with all these people, and the two people that can talk football in there are Ryan Poles and Jeff King. I would just be like, what? Can we have a side meeting here where we just talk ball for a little bit? I mean, these are football coaches. They want to talk ball,
right? Scouting, personnel preferences, like identity, where you want the money to be invested. So yeah,
you know what's gonna get Mike Vrabel off the Patriots if there's a world where you could do that? It is Ryan Poles and Mike Vrabel going to dinner and talking about Scott Pioli's scouting system for 3 hours.
They should go to that place in Zach Rosenblatt's story and have that beer underneath Vrabel's jersey.
Yeah. That seems to be a good way to get Mike Vrabel. I don't know. Yeah, it's funny. We started this podcast and I was like kind of the more and more. Yeah, you got me convinced on this, Jahns. I think I'm more bothered. So that question we started the show with, like, is this less appealing than it was yesterday? I'm like, I might be changing my tune a little bit. I think it depends who you're talking to.
John Greenberg said yesterday, I think he tweeted us that like his streak continues of not feeling any better about the Bears after leaving an end of season press conference. And that got me thinking, gentlemen, since the three of us have been on the beat together, I found only one end of season press conference out of 12 that you felt, I don't want to say good, but like hopeful. Do you guys want to guess that year? Solely kind of based on like who was talking to what we heard and like what had just transpired.
2018. Going into 2018.
I'm going to say going into 2017.
So going into 2017, like we were in there like, I did not count that because you're sitting there being like, why is John Fox still here?
Yeah, that's a good point.
And remember, we like almost made a pact, like nobody asked John Fox any questions because we're done having to ask questions. We want right, and we like Ryan Pace always came out of those looking much better. I was all right, And then if you go to after 2017,
why would that be?
We had all the questions about Pace's job security. People were confused why he got a contract extension, and like they had to do another coaching search. After 2018, the best season we ever covered, that was also a very uncomfortable end of season press conference because Matt Nagy didn't stop shaking because he was still so mad about Cody Parkey.
Oh, and Cody Parkey was on The View.
Right, and there was very tough questions.
I immediately ruled out 2018 as soon as you brought up that question. That was ridiculous.
You rule out 2018. You rule out any time a coach has gotten fired. Like I rule out all the John Fox years because you never really wanted to hear from John Fox at these press conferences. Every subsequent year of the Matt Nagy era was just very much filled with strife. The only one I could think of was the end of the 2013 season when Phil Emery opened it by telling us he had contract extensions for Jay Cutler, Tim Jennings, and Matt Slauson. And it was just like, I mean, there was fair conversation and discussion and debate over those contracts, especially the one to the quarterback. But you kind of walked out of there being like, hey, like these guys, they had a great offense their first year. They know what they need to add on defense. They got these guys extended well before free agency. And here we go. That was the only one I could think of where you like didn't walk out of there thinking, what did I just hear?
What was going off that?
I was a math major. I wasn't actually.
Oh, Foxy. What was the one thing you heard yesterday where you're like, Kevin, what did I just hear?
There was a lot.
I'm sorry, you asked Kevin that question.
No, go ahead. Go ahead, Hoge.
Yeah. I mean, the one was 1 year is a lifetime.
Yeah.
The other is, and actually, Katie, our producer, maybe we can move this up in our rundown a little bit and play it right now. The clip I sent you guys right before the show when Poles was asked about the turmoil that Caleb Williams went through this season. I think we can play that for you right now if we have it ready, because if we just listen to this, I was so confused about what was said right here. This was the question and answer.
For Caleb was very specific and very elaborate. His entire rookie season was subjected to disruption and stress. What
can you explain the disruption, the stress part?
Offensive coordinator got fired. His head coach got fired. A lot of turmoil throughout the course of his rookie season. What went wrong with your plan?
Yeah, obviously, there's some things when there's a staff in place. When we went through the interview cycle with Shane, I think there's some compatibility things. I think there's some challenges with pairing, and I answered this before, a rookie quarterback that has a lot of growth. He had 37 starts, in college. You'd like to, have in that 35 to 40 range, and there's a lot of growth there, and there's some compatibility to make sure that it's being taught the right way. And I think there were some hiccups there, and again, that's part of the ownership.
What? Was that that was a long way of just saying they screwed up the Waldron hire, right?
100%. Yes.
Okay. I was just like, he's getting into the college starts. You want him in this range. He was in the range. He was like right in the middle of the range. I'm like, what is it? What? And then like just the fact that Dan had to clarify the turmoil. Hello? Like, what do you mean? What turmoil?
Stuff happened here, man. My translation on that is, we royally messed up the hiring of Shane Waldron. He wasn't the right pick to develop a rookie quarterback. Compatibility. I think you used that word one more time later on in the press conference.
Just say that then.
Yeah. Well, I say this is what should scare fans is the way they're describing this head coaching search is very similar to the way they describe the offensive coordinator search. Exhaustive, data-driven, right?
I'm exhausted.
Like they put so much into that offensive coordinator search. How many guys did they interview for that? Like 9?
I thought it was like 14.
They're flying up and down the West Coast, on Bear Force One, talking to these guys, and they talked to so many people. It was the same cast a wide net, bringing like they had, several people at all of those interviews, and they landed on Shane Waldron, who was maybe one of the worst hires in the history of the franchise. And so like now when you come to me and you say it's just an exhaustive search, we're casting a wide net, we're going to use a lot of data, we're using all these people. I'm sitting here thinking, well, the last time you did that, you got Shane Waldron, you had to fire him in the middle of the season. So why should anybody feel good about this one?
This whole thing is a we should know better moment for me because I liked what they did. I did.
Oh, in the moment,
in the moment, yes. Talk to as many candidates as you can. You have a big decision coming, like a big franchise-altering decision coming your way in the selection of Caleb Williams. Find the right pick for him. Find the right answer for him. I like that Shane Waldron had previous experience calling plays. I think that separated him from other candidates. But now we know they got it wrong. Something was missed in all that information gathering.
Well, I think too, one thing that I'm speculating here to give Ryan Poles a little slack. I think, especially when you look at the personalities, it's very clear why Matt Eberflus gravitated toward Shane Waldron. And I'm guessing that Ryan Poles doesn't want to go out and say that was Matt. That's Matt's call, and Matt picked a guy that he felt good with, even though there might have been some other question marks. I'm not saying that's like a fair excuse, but I do think from an explaining it publicly, that might be why we're not getting more than compatibility. Because he was asked about that a month ago too. the Shane Wall. Like when we talked to Poles and Warren, that came up and we got kind of a shaky answer too. So that's just my guess on it, that he doesn't want to fully throw Eberflus under the bus for that decision when it was his final call.
It was he let Flus make that decision. I think obviously compatibility, since that's the word Poles used in that answer. They sided towards compatibility with Flus, which we've learned through a million quotes kind of where that thing was headed. And then I think that's related to the other quote we heard from Poles yesterday about a reluctance to put things on this, up on the board about doing things the wrong way. And this is how we do it the right way. And there's just wasn't enough confrontation, which Thomas Brown tried to correct. We've been down that road before, but you can't then do another podcast because he's on record on that. I don't know if you guys saw that one podcast he did back during training camp where he's bragging about their interview process and how they landed Shane Waldron. So you can't pin it all on Flus then if you're talking about the process that you used to find him. And so that's just where it gets. Look,
the lesson learned is don't do podcasts.
No, don't. Let's delete that part, please.
Other than this podcast, which is exceptional, fair, high quality, and extremely entertaining.
Yes.
Right, because there's nothing he regretted in his interview with us. Go back and listen to it. Yeah. It's fine. Okay, getting back to the wide net thing. The problem I have, this is tough because I agree that it sounds good, and look, I'm on record being like, why wouldn't you talk to Bill Belichick? Heck, I think there's an argument to talk to Matt Nagy right now. I got to be honest with you. Why not? He has a relationship. I'm not saying hire him, but he's a relationship with Ryan Poles. He knows all the skeletons that are in the closet of Hallis Hall. Why not talk to him? Maybe Kevin Warren will learn some things from Matt Nagy on the building and all these. I get all that. So I don't necessarily have a problem with the amount of interviews they're doing. I think it's kind of a stretch to criticize that. But they still better have this thing narrowed down to Mike Vrabel or Ben Johnson, because just get the problem. When Kevin says yesterday that when I asked him, like, what'd you learn in Minnesota from going through these? And he's like, well, you got to have an open mind. Don't be zeroed in on one. I'm paraphrasing, but that's basically what he said. Like, don't come in predetermined. I think that's wrong in this case. To me, the way this is setting up is it looks like it can come down to the Patriots and Bears for Mike Vrabel and Ben Johnson. Don't screw it up. If the Patriots are going to hire Vrabel because of his connections there, then hire Ben Johnson. And if they pivot and Ben Johnson loves Drake May and they love that idea of having that pairing, then you have Mike Vrabel. Get it done. Just do for one time. I am begging you, Bears, George McCaskey, anybody that might be listening, do the obvious thing one time, please.
Do you know how long it took the Chiefs to hire Andy Reid after he was fired by the Philadelphia Eagles? And I think this is important because Ryan Poles was there as the college scouting director. Ted Cruz, the special advisor to Kevin Warren, was there. Do you know how long it took them to hire Andy Reid?
Wasn't it like 24 hours or something?
I think officially it's officially 4 days.
Okay.
Well, look, the Bears hired John Fox in
I was going to say that the Fox
Bears
thing is
hired
similar,
Matt Eberflus in 3 days,
but not after he was fired.
Right, after Poles was hired. Yeah.
The Fox thing's comparable because he got let go and then the Bears swooped in and got him. And you could argue, and maybe if we had been doing Hoge and Jahns during that coaching search, we may have said that was the obvious hire at the time. That does not mean that the obvious hire in every coaching cycles is the same level of obviousness. Does that make sense?
Yeah, every year is different.
Yes.
No, you're right, because every cycle is different. Every situation is different. Like every team's process is different. The Bears have changed their process multiple times. They keep adding people to it.
It's interesting you brought up. Sorry, Ken, real quick. It's
ahead.
interesting you brought up Andy Reid's name because in this model I've been working on, and if you go read my profile on Vrabel that I put out this morning, it's spitting out scores, like similarity scores. And the two names that came up that were most similar to Vrabel in the situation, again, it's all the information we had at the time these guys were hired, not what we know now about Andy Reid, but what we knew about Andy Reid when he was let go by the Eagles and got hired by the Chiefs. The two comps for Vrabel right now are when the Chiefs hired Andy Reid and when the Ravens hired John Harbaugh. So that gives you an idea of how strong and obvious this is as a coaching candidate.
Where does Mark Trestman go in the model?
Down by Matt Eberflus.
To your point, Hoge, like I've and I'm kind of jaded by all this. I told Johnsy last night I've become not become cynical, but like you approach this search. We've done this so many times. I'm here like all these first year guys are generally the same to me, maybe but except for Ben Johnson, they're all the same. Like I have no way of knowing if any of them are going to be good. I have no way of knowing if the Bears building is going to ruin Mike Vrabel like it's ruined a lot of other people who have walked in the building. With that said, the resumes are so like the Mike Vrabel resume. And you know what, Hoge? I'll throw Pete Carroll in there too. The resumes are so obvious, right? And when we like this, we've been talking so much about yesterday. Here's what the Bears need. How about a PR victory, right? Like instead of overthinking this, as you said, Hoge, just hire the guy that your fans are going to be excited about. And that's going to be Vrabel or Ben Johnson. I don't think any, and that's like, I have no idea if either of those guys are going to be good. I think those guys have the best resumes. And I should say they're all the same except for Mike Kafka because he went to Northwestern, so we know he had a great education. Everybody else is the same to me. Like you can't really you cannot convince me that Joe Brady would be a better coach than Anthony Weaver, than Drew Petzing. That you could compare what they've done and what their resumes are, and you could talk offense defense, but like I don't know. We have no idea. But if you want to talk about Vrabel, he's in a different category. And that's why I agree with you, Hoge. Like, just go get the guy that nobody's going to ask questions about. Like, yep. Like, how about 2018 when they drafted Roquan Smith? Like, in the moment, it was like, oh, yeah, this was the most obvious draft pick they can make. This is exactly what they need. He was a great college player. There's no red flags here at the time whatsoever. You did it. Caleb Williams, like, no brainer. He was the number one pick. There wasn't controversy at the time. The Bears did something that nobody could get mad at. Well, now here's an opportunity. Just go pick the coach that no one's going to yell at you about. Yeah, currently.
I think and this doesn't take a lot of research. This doesn't take advanced interviews with multiple people to figure out. What I like about Ben Johnson, and this is where he separates himself from Drew Petzing, Mike Kafka, sorry, Kev, Joe Brady even. He has coordinated, called plays. He is the man in charge. The man in charge. There's no Andy Reid influence over him. We know for certainty that he is calling plays for an offense that has ranked top 5 for 3 consecutive years. That
top 2 in EPA per play over
over
the entire time.
Even better. Even better. Yeah. You could have questions about how he could command the room, take over a full building, how he can handle questions about, or what he thinks about the future of the Bears Stadium, whatever. But what we know for absolute fact, he calls the plays. Matt Nagy didn't do that. And his offense has ranked amongst the best in the league for 3 consecutive years.
You want my fun fact, Jahns?
Go ahead.
The Lions lead the league in scoring this year. The last time the Bears led the league in scoring was 1956. The Lions were second in the league in total offense this year. The last time the Bears ranked in the top 2 in total offense was 1956. The best the Bears have finished in total offense since the merger was 1977 when Walter Payton won the MVP. They had the third best total offense in football. And the
Sexy.
Lions have been there every year under Ben Johnson. That's how long. Like, it is so amazing that the Bears in the 21st century have had one top 10 offense, and that was 2013. That's the only top 10. Top 10!
Your quarterback is on record saying that he watched the Lions offense as the Bears played them, taking special note of how Ben Johnson, their play caller, countered what the Bears defense was doing. He is on record citing a play that he watched on television where the Vikings and the Lions are competing for the number 1 seed in the NFC, where Ben Johnson, again, counters what the blitz-happy Vikings under Brian Flores, another candidate for the Bears head coaching job, was doing against Ben Johnson. He named the players involved in the play, a touchdown play by the Lions. Take note of that, Ryan Poles, please.
All right, Jahns, what do you want to get to with the audio?
Oh, I
Wanna
wanted
set
to
this
play.
up?
Yeah, we're almost done here. I want to play your question because your question, the Ryan Poles about, this pairing a young quarterback with an offensive-minded head coach. So, Katie, go ahead.
A lot of discussion, and I'm sure you guys will have this discussion too, about pairing an offensive guy with a young quarterback versus, a guy that can kind of oversee the whole thing and maybe has head coaching experience, things like that. Just what is your general philosophy when it comes to that kind of tug of war between those two head coaching candidates?
Yeah, I think there's for a young quarterback, obviously there's ideal fit, but at the end of the day, you got to look at all the characteristics of what you're looking for in a head coach. And then you got to see what's the best bundle of those to bring in the building. Obviously, we're talking about leadership, accountability, some of those important things that carry over regardless of what the situation is. So, those have to be there. To ignore those just to go to the other side, I think is a bad deal too. So really, it's the candidate that has the best collection of all of those things. And yes, the development of a young quarterback is going to be a huge factor in that.
I actually like that answer.
Yes. Are all attributes, I guess, the same or equal value in this, though? You know what I'm getting at?
Mm-hmm.
Like Mark Trestman, the Bears have gone down this road. The Bears wanted an offensive-minded head coach for Jay Cutler. It wasn't Bruce Arians. It was Mark Trestman. Didn't work out, but we learned that he cannot handle the room, command the room, and it flamed out in dramatic fashion over 2 years. Where I think things are different is if things click with Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson, and the success is there. It allows him to grow in other aspects of the job, right? Just like Sean McVay did, just like Matt LaFleur did, just like Kyle Shanahan did. Their offensive acumen was probably their number one attribute. And then they were allowed to grow within their leadership qualities improved in time, right? I think that could happen with the Ben Johnson. If you're concerned, I'm not concerned about how he can do an offense. I'm concerned about maybe how he can handle everybody else. But if he's really good at the offense, I'm guessing everybody else will follow along.
That was Mercedes Lewis and I talked about this, that you could read that story on The Athletic. And Mercedes talked about his time with Matt LaFleur. And he says, when you met Matt LaFleur, you could tell he was smart and you could tell he knew how to scheme and he could attack defenses. But he said, it took Matt LaFleur, I watched him grow, and he would pull Mercedes, Devonta Adams, Aaron Rodgers aside and say, what am I doing wrong? Help me out with these meetings. What can I do better? And like he said, the players appreciated LaFleur's vulnerability there. And that LaFleur was get me to help me grow. Because there again, as John said, we know the playbook's there and it's a good starting point. And now, show that you can lead when you need to lead. Because Matt Nagy, the playbook was great in 2018, and I think Matt Nagy still does have a lot of good leadership qualities. That thing just combusted in so many different ways, and and I think he'll be better his second time around. He probably learned from how he just had trouble handling that adversity. So it makes sense for Ben Johnson too. I like that idea. Just kind of let these guys grow into those spots. And again, if your quarterback's good and your scheme is good and you're winning games, that makes a lot of difference.
Yeah, I think Poles has the order of operations correct there, though. You got to be able to do all of it. And then if you can get a guy who's also offensive minded at the same time, that's your perfect scenario. That perfect scenario doesn't play out a lot, though.
So this brings us back to Vrabel. Like, we know he could do all of it.
Mm-hmm.
We know he could hire good offensive coordinators. His first offensive coordinator was
Matt LaFleur.
Second,
Arthur Smith, he was smart enough to retain on that staff. Arthur Smith was already there in Tennessee when he got there, kept him as his tight ends coach, then promoted him to OC after LaFleur left. Now he struggled after that to get the next guy to replace Arthur Smith. But still, your first two OCs go become head coaches. It's a pretty good track record.
Also, I think their quarterback situation kind of deteriorated towards the end there. I think Tannehill had some injuries, just wasn't as good. Caleb Williams is potentially a different level of quarterback.
Well, this goes to my
Bears. Arthur Smith, also a Bears head coaching candidate.
Yeah, I'm good.
My Pete Carroll scenario, Hoge. I wrote this with Jahns over the weekend. Hire Pete Carroll. He hires a really good play caller who it's written into the contract. That guy becomes the head coach in 3 years when Pete Carroll retires. So that way people don't have to freak out about Pete Carroll's age and get nervous about if he has a good offensive coordinator, they're going to leave to go somewhere else. Just because, as we've seen around the NFL, it always works when you write into the contract that guy's going to be the coach in waiting.
Time out. Who is Pete Carroll's last play caller?
Shane Waldron.
This always comes full circle for the Bears, doesn't it?
But what if Pete Carroll brought in, I don't know, like what if he says to Joe Brady, come here and be my play caller. I'll call you assistant head coach. So it's a promotion, and we'll write into your contract that, you get the head coaching job.
Cap,
that way you get the best of both worlds.
I love where your head's at, but
never gonna happen.
Did you forget what team you're covering?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's gonna work. Sorry.
No, not gonna work. Hoge, can I give you my brief 20-second rant?
Oh yeah, we got a rant.
Really quick. This is not just a Bears thing; it's an NFL thing. Jahns has already heard me rant about this 3 times since yesterday. Why is it that coaches and GMs contracts have to be the most secretive things on the planet, but the players who get their brains bashed in every Sunday, the teams announce and are proud of their contract lengths? I understand that Ryan Poles, in his mind, says that his contract is personal and he doesn't want to go into it. That's understandable. That's his take on it. But I think it's a completely hypocritical thing in this league that the GMs and coaches, we never know how long their contracts are, but they are glad to tell us that they signed Jalen Johnson to a 4-year extension, or that Cole Kmet is signed through 2028, but they will not tell us how long their contracts are. I think it's hypocritical. It's not just a Bears thing, but I think it shows you this delineation between management and player, when again, the players are the ones who are risking their bodies every Sunday, and the coaches and GMs think they're too good and too above it to tell you how long their contracts are.
Totally agree. And again, I'm not asking you how much money you're making. I'm just asking you the length of the contract. Those are 2 different things. So
I think after yesterday's press conferences, I get that George McCaskey said it's never come up in conversation before, because I think maybe because it's never have to, but now it has to.
If that's the case, though, Jahns, then why did Ryan Poles interrupt my follow-up to make the point, and he did so smartly, that he would clear that up in the interview process, that he he would communicate that information. He would share that information to the candidates. He just didn't want to do it publicly. Why would he interrupt my question to answer that question if George McCaskey, that never comes up? Come on. Of course it comes up.
Imagine if you're Mike Vrabel and you ask how long Ryan Poles' contract is for, and then Kevin Warren says, well, Mike, 1 year is a lifetime.
In fact,
I can't wait to see.
Mike Vrabel, we would like to offer you a 1-year contract.
Because it's a
lifetime.
Can't wait to see how many lifetime contracts the Bears hand out this March.
Evan's never letting that one go.
I'm good. I'll see how long I can. Listen, I've been known to really beat jokes into the ground for a long time, so I'm gonna see how long this one goes.
All right. Hey, little surprise. It's not a surprise. It's just catching up on things. We do have your voicemails. The Bears won a football game on Sunday. We have not had voicemails after a win since London, so we don't want to let those just go off into space and never be heard. So we are going to end this podcast with your voicemails from the Bears' victory over the Green Bay Packers.
Hello?
Do you know who this is?
Oh, you didn't know? Your ass better call somebody!
The Hoge and Jahns voicemail. The Hoge and Jahns voicemail line.
Believe it or not, George isn't at home. Please leave a message at the beep.
Got any questions or comments about the Bears? Give the guys a call before, after, or even during the game.
Go Bears!
I'm going to go watch the Bears play the Packers today. Why am I going to do that? I don't know, but I'm going to do it. Go Bears, I guess.
Good morning, Hoge and Jahns. Today is my birthday. I have turned 25, and I've had 2 good seasons in my lifetime. All I want for my birthday today is that we don't get embarrassed. That's all I want, man.
Fellas, that's the first Bears touchdown in the first quarter the entire year coming against the Green Bay Packers in Week 18. I like what I see so far. Defense looks terrible, though. Bear down.
Hey, John. Long-time listener, first-time caller. Name's Matt Plackey. I just want to say, Hoge predicted it. There's the one touchdown that is not on the offense, but we'll see how the rest of the game goes. Bear down, I guess. Love you guys.
Hi, boys. It's the Mama Bear. Special teams, baby! Woohoo! Also, we just may find some new, absolutely unexpected and indescribably heartbreaking way to lose. So I'm trying not to get my hopes up.
I'm thinking instead of losing yards by trying to play offense, that the Bears, as soon as they get the ball, they should just kick it right back to Green Bay again. I mean, at least they're not going backwards then, right? Hi, John. Thank you guys for the mental health hotline this year. Good stuff. Talk to you next season.
Botch snap sack, negative screenplay, check down for 2 yards. That is your Chicago Bears offense, folks.
There are people that install Windows for a living that see less screens a day than the Bears offense.
What's up, boys? Bears are winning 14-13 at half, which is the time I decided to turn the TV off and end the game right there. You know why? Because who's going to stop me? Go Bears. Bear down.
What's up, Hoge and Jahns? Just calling in after the DJ Moore fumble. Yeah, I made the mistake of having hope at the end of the game there. I feel like I'm in some sort of an episode of Scooby-Doo, and they're going to pull the mask off Thomas Brown, and it's going to be Luke Getsy, because so many screens. Here's the next season.
Did the Bears actually beat the Packers? I looked up to my wife, and I was like, I didn't even know you the last time they beat the Packers. And I had 2 kids and a dog in the house.
I can't believe it. It's so Bears at the same time it's not.
The Packers, go Bears!
I can't actually believe that happened. I can't actually believe that happened. The Packers, go Bears, bear down.
Hey Bears fans, B-Man here. It's great we got the win, but the best part is we beat the Packers. Bear down!
Hoagie Cat, John's bed. Bob Dabrowski calling in. It is 7:53 on Monday morning. and I'm just now breaking out of my stunned silence. The Bears have beaten the Green Bay Packers in Lambeau Field. What a miracle. What a way to end the season. What a way to go into 2025. Let's keep this gravy train rolling. Chicago Bears, bear down, hire the right coach. Let's go.
There it is. Everybody feeling a little optimism. And we heard, speaking of quotes, yesterday, like how many times are we going to hear the Bears are 1-0 in 2025? I mean, Caleb's the one who started it, but that was brought up like 6 times yesterday.
Did you guys notice on locker room cleanout day that all the video screens, like throughout Hallis Hall, already had pictures of the win the day before against the Packers?
Yeah.
That's quite the quick turnaround. You have Caleb Williams doing his post-game interview. You have Ryan Poles hugging Cairo Santos. George McCaskey had a ball in his hand in one of the pictures, walking through the locker room, giving somebody a hug. Just, I don't know, took note of it.
Does that mean they gave a game ball to George McCaskey?
I think they gave it to Virginia for her birthday. And through George. Hey, birthday, Virginia, 102.
There you go. I mean, isn't just beating Green Bay the perfect birthday present for her? All right.
Yeah.
That's going to do it for this episode. Kevin, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, guys. It felt like a lifetime.
We'll be back on Friday. I think we'll go through some of the names that the Bears have interviewed. It is Wednesday. I think today is Mike Vrabel Day. Saw a report that Drew Petzing is also being interviewed over Zoom as well. So away we go.
Mike Kafka tomorrow, which is
Pete Carroll tomorrow.
Yeah. I mean, Kafka's got to be at the top of the Adam Jahns rankings.
No, I can't. If for making rankings, like Kevin already has hired him in some capacity here for the Bears.
Anybody see what he did to Minnesota in 2008? Ran for like 200 yards as a quarterback.
Oh,
how do you not hire him as your head coach?
I remember that game.
That's a good point. Good point. All right. Well, in the meantime, make sure you're reading The Athletic, theathletic.com/Hoge and I'll continue to have content out for our CHGO diehards as well. All CHGO.com/diehard to subscribe there. And probably won't be daily, but every few days, just sort of a newsletter going out on the old email chain on things that we're hearing. So that's all there for you. The first one of those went out this morning too. So got a lot of content you're coming your way. We will be back Friday here on Hoge and Jahns. We'll talk to you then.
See ya.